he briefed him on, which is fine. But I think what Brad's asking is for you to acknowledge that because it was when he learned of that.
Sorry if that irks you, Brad. Not trying to impress, just stating your fact.
Respectfully, Dizzle, I think he's just asking for you to confirm the claim. I don't think anyone suggested that they were somehow intimidated.
Yeah, I'm definitely not intimidated by it. I just wanted you to verify with your own words the statements that you made in an earlier room that people had advised me to make. I'm just giving you your fair chance to provide any clarification, any nuance you wanted to say in regards to it.
And I already responded.
I can claim to have met 3 U.S. presidents, shook their hands. Have you ever been in the Situation Room?
Depends on the situation.
No, I've never been in the Situation Room, but I met 3 presidents. I met George Bush Sr. shook his hand, Bush Jr., and Bill Clinton.
Did you wash your hands after you shook Clinton's hand?
No, I did not. No, I did not. That's funny.
What I wanted to ask earlier real quick was to the point of usership on this app. I don't know, I think this whole Victoria was done, but when you had, so were the folks that everybody here interacts with off the app in air quotes real life, on the average, when you ask them, even during the pandemic, when they had the captive audience, when they were peaking, if you've asked, hey, I was on this app Clubhouse, pandemic stuff and all that stuff and political stuff, and if you try to describe what the app is, what would you say on the average, 1 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 8 out of 10 of your friends or coworkers or people you just talked to actually even heard of the app, let alone used it?
0 out of 10.
Exactly.
I'd love to hear more from Dismal about the toxic masculinity that killed this app. Victoria, can you tell us about the toxic masculinity that killed this app? Is that possible?
I think it's like you're not bringing on new people, obviously. Like
Who's you? Who's you?
The male voices in this room. You're the definition of toxic masculinity.
So let me ask you a question. Hold on. If I ask I'm gonna ask you a question. If we had 25 people in a room, they've never been on Clubhouse, who do you think they're gonna listen to before you or me? They're definitely not gonna listen to you and your batshit crazy theories and you being in the Situation Room 3 times. But I'll open a room and I'll get all 25 of those people to come in. So I guess masculinity's not that toxic. Maybe just to you.
Sorry, me being in the Situation Room 3 times? I didn't say that. I've been in the Situation Room many times. What are you trying to prove?
I don't have to prove anything. Every time you speak, you prove it yourself.
What were you working for the federal government? What was your role?
This is like the problem that I literally highlighted, and you're proving it. It's so brilliant. I don't even have to share anything more.
Victoria, I think it's fair to be critical of the way people may or may not behave on a stage. That's absolutely true, and I would never take that away from you. And I think that even on the stage right now, we could both probably point to the same things and be critical of them. But I don't know if you can attribute that behavior specifically to the being male, even if it was males. So I don't think that you are proving your claim about toxic masculinity by using the current station as an example. I'm not saying that you couldn't. I think it's more embarrassing to make the claim in the first place.
So
I definitely don't think that it's just because the man doesn't.
I'm not going to
Victoria, I'm not sure. I don't know what's wrong with you, but you can never let people finish, specifically me. You're gonna let me finish, but I want to give you the opportunity to actually defend your statement if you want to, because I don't think it's a good reply to say that this stage is proving you true.
So I used to host rooms and discussions, and the reason that I stopped is because there were a lot of these like toxic male characters that showed up. So if we're looking at why did this app decline, I think it's because there wasn't proper or appropriate gatekeeping. So we ended up with a bunch of trolls, and trolls, unfortunately, are not like obviously not going to attract more people to the app. Nobody wants to be on here anymore.
Yeah, a lot of people have said this about trolls. I don't think trolls are inherently male. That I would just quibble with you attributing this to men somehow, unless you're trying to say that some kind of internalized toxic masculinity is exhibited by trolls, regardless.
May I was here in the beginning of Clubhouse, and so was Victoria and Brad and Mojo. We were the invites, and it was definitely different when it was invite. And when they started opening it up to non-invites, it just became, it kind of got ghetto a bit. Some rooms and some places, you just had really low IQ people. It was a whole different vibe before they opened it up, and I can understand why they wanted to open it up to increase their numbers that were on the app, so that maybe they want to sell it or so. I mean, they had a substantial financial offer for this app, and they turned it down. I'm sure they regret it now.
Well, hold on. Everyone talks about the offer that they got. I've heard about the valuation of $4 billion, but there's no proof that there was ever an offer made, unless you can correct.
Oh, you know what? You got a point there. Yes. No, I stand corrected. There was a valuation. I'm not sure about the specifics of a legitimate offer, but you are right. There was a huge valuation for this.
I just need to publicly apologize. Brad, I want to apologize to you publicly for ever fighting with you over this woman. She's what killed this app. The toxic femininity on this app. You can't even ask a simple question without any bass in your voice, and they turn around and say, see, you're proving my point. Brad, man to man, I sincerely apologize to you.
Thanks a lot, man. No apologize. And I was just gonna say, go ahead, Mojo. I think you're gonna.
I was just gonna quickly say, it's been a long time, but Victoria, do you remember when you and I hosted a room?
Yes, yeah, I do, actually.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're trying now to lump me into this category of like these toxic men. When did you turn on me?
Well, she's still muted. So I was gonna say real quick. So first off, yes, you're correct, Roger. When I said earlier about the valuation, I didn't say they had an offer, but yeah, they were valued at billions and billions. And I just want to say, I think Kelly pretty much summed it up well. Regarding her, not to say somewhat outlandish claim, and I know Victoria knows me from other rooms. She knows them on the left. But to come in here and say, well, all these male voices are the reason why this app is down. You can't say with a straight face that there aren't women on this app that come to fight, that come for the accident, that come for the train wreck, that come for the content. I think the toxicity is actually equal on this app. Maybe not out there in the real world, but it most certainly is on this app. You cannot just to pigeonhole that it's only the male, and then there is
No, I think that's actually like a fair observation. That there used to be I remember logging in on this app and seeing 3 different rooms at the same time that I wanted to be able to listen to. It's About Time or Science Society or other rooms. These were all intelligent people that were contributing, and the only content that we see now is how can you burn somebody, how can you troll somebody, even just changing the name of this room, for example.
There's a room right now that's run by women. It's RPO, research purposes only. That's some male mods, but I believe it was founded by women. And literally the room title is, would you rather be a child predator or queer? That's not really a kumbaya
what I basically said is basically the gatekeeping, not having invitation only to the app. You end up with like a declined population of people.
Well,
And
that's where
so
you've already made this point. So even though you want to now back away from the claim that you didn't actually get to finish because nobody really wanted to hear it because everyone was presuming it would be bullshit, but you did say toxic masculinity. This is a claim that you made. You did not expand upon it. I tried to give you the opportunity to do it, but I understand and appreciate that it is an inconvenient truth at this point. But we do not need to then rehash something else that you said to pretend like you never said that. It's fine. Like I think.
Shy, I think you're in the magic zone.
Totally appropriate thing for you to agree that moves.
Shy, you keep cutting out, hon.
I think she was just trying to say that I agreed that there's also women that are equally toxic.
You don't even take more time to repeat yourself to distance yourself from what you said, like everyone remembers. So let's just move on to others that want to speak unless you.
Well, I like to just say one final thing before we move on. I find it funny that you complain about this room, other rooms, but you're in there consistently. There is nothing stopping you other than that nobody will show up from opening your own rooms. That's just my opinion.
Hey, JB, I heard your, there was no worries. I never really had any concerns over it. I don't even remember the arguments, to be honest with you. That's how short term those things last in my head. So there's no need to apologize.
Look, I'll be the outlier here. As much as I can offer pushback at times to Victoria, I actually enjoy having her in the room.
I just wanted to hear the clarification on the comments, Roger. That was all. I was just intrigued by that. Not that I've ever been in the Situation Room, but I will say that I find it dubious that someone of Victoria's ilk would be in the Situation Room. It just does not strike me as probable.
Well, that wasn't even the most interesting part of her submission the other night. The most interesting part was the way that she was made to feel by Donald Trump. Donald Trump, was it a look or was it a comment? Victoria? Maybe she doesn't know she's on mute.
Hey, Brad, I have a question for you. What do you think's more believable? Joby being in the NSA or Dismal being in the Situation Room for two presidents?
I'll go with Joby.
What about Edmund's claim that he works for the IRS?
I actually might believe that one. He is kind of crazy. Those IRS people aren't, they're not screwed down too tight. You know what I mean?
I do believe him working for the IRS. I mean, he is crazy, like we all know, but he's no dummy. He's quite smart.
I actually want to help him with his political campaign.
Not again, because you and I have helped. What? We are now on. What would this be? 5, 6 people so far that we've helped. They donated and offered assistance.
Well, they don't really listen to us, Brad. They just they want us to do rooms with them, but they don't really listen to what we do.
Shit, I helped raise money on one of them. I put them in touch with people. Gerard wrote fucking things. I mean, we did whole speeches. No. I'm not helping anybody that's running for office. And one of the fuckers used to be on Clubhouse and then got elected. And it turns out he was a whole different person. He had as many personalities as Victoria.
How is Gerard doing?
He's doing good. He's doing his thing. He's actually getting more and more in depth with the RNC and political circles. So he's moving up the chain and he's doing his thing. He's rocking it out.
Do you guys remember when we did the fundraiser for the guy that U.S. Senate in New York, Tom Queter, and he needed he had a wheelchair that he's bound by, and he needed a new one. His insurance wasn't paying for it, and within about an hour, we raised $11,000 for him to get a new wheelchair. That was one of the more interesting rooms.
And we also helped Tom Slocum. You know, not that I really personally liked him, but we helped him massively in ways. I mean, not that you're going to win against a guy who's got a 98% approval rating for his district, but I mean, we still offered the opportunity and the assistance, and we thought it was, you know, a long shot in the wind, but we gave it our all. I'm not helping anybody that's running for office.
If you could bring 3 people back to the app, who would your 3 people be?
Keanu Reeves, and Keanu Reeves.
I'd bring KB back because I thought her rooms were hysterical when Clubhouse Season 1 first started. I'd probably bring Chris Ruby back. She was entertaining to a point, and it wasn't that you wanted to listen to her, she just seemed to have a really strong network to bring people on. And then I'd bring the Net Geo individuals, the reporters and the investigators that worked for the various Net Geo research foundations. They used to hold rooms, and they were fucking amazing. They were brilliant, filled with people doing a variety of things.
Who was Mojo? You remember that guy from Season 1? Early 20s. I mean, his New York accent makes JB's accent like sound like Midwest. I think his name was Alex. He had big rooms. He would push the envelope.
Alex, New York?
Oh yeah, Alex, New York. Is he still on here?
No, he's been on here a while, and I will say this: he was easily one of the most gifted people on this app when it came to understanding what buttons to press, how to get a room going. If the room didn't start fast enough, he would just end it and start a new one. Alex New York, I've had private conversations with him. That dude needs a podcast. That dude is quicker witted than probably anybody on this app.
I think
And
Tyler's like tech news around the world. Paul's It's About Time, and there is a guy who led a lot of philosophy of language rooms, warranting. Those are the people I would bring back.
All the fun people.
They had like It's About Time on Saturday morning had many people listen.
Do you see how annoying it is when you get cut off before you're finished, Victoria? Or excuse me, Dismal? That's why I muted you before you were finished to make that point. So please just keep that in mind moving.
if I could bring back 3 people, I would bring back Ned. I think Ned was the best at what he did. I think the way that he moderated a room, where he was able to get the crazies in, but keep them in check, and but also bring highly intellectual people to the table. I think he would be a value add if he were back. Other people that I would want to see come back to the app that I think would be like a huge value would be something like I don't know if you guys would even remember some of these people. Well, Justin Higgins, as much as I thought he was kind of like a twerp, he was very good at getting people. He was getting sitting congressmen, former directors of the CIA. He got a lot of interesting people onto this app to interview them. I didn't like the structure that he had, but the structure that he had was the only way those people were going to agree to come on the stage. And unfortunately, what he did was he quickly abandoned his interest in this app because he got delusions of grandeur. So Justin Higgins and Ned, I think those would be the top 2 that would bring value back. And then, believe it or not, I think even just bringing bringing back Hunter Shackelford. I think Hunter was such a character.
Who is Ned, and what room did he lead that I perhaps missed?
Ned used to do rooms all the time. Kelly, how would you describe Ned?
Yeah, Ned generally had pretty open discussions with really, he would have interesting people, like a variety, not sort of set the panel, but a lot of the people that, people that would have been on here for a while, would have considered, like, I guess, heavy hitters, things like that. Ned was in community with them, and so they would spend time in his rooms, and generally the topics would be current events, like often steered towards politics, but also often steered toward, I hate to say like culture war issues, but like that's what they're often reduced to now, but this was, years ago, before people were having these kinds of discussions in the same ways, and Ned managed to keep the conversation really efficient, even with the, quote unquote heavy hitters. He had a way of managing the stage to keep them from dominating, being boring, etc., and also including randos that he didn't know. And it was interesting. Like, I don't know, he would explore these topics, and people had fun stuff to say. And randomly, like Friedman, Eric Weinstein would come in and actually speak for 5-10 minutes, or even get in conversation. So a lot of people would like hope that would happen, but even if it didn't, they were accessible conversations about things people talked about but weren't really discussing in like the public conversation yet.
I really appreciated. Do you guys remember Cami? She would have rooms that she hosted, basically making tech news accessible to average people. Scientific, basically STEM related topics. Nobody knows what I'm referring to.
I mean, that's Cami may have done that, but I think what most people probably remember her for is kind of just being like this silent mod. It was like always a mod on almost every stage. The discussions you're talking about, most people don't remember her from that, at least on this side of like political clubhouse, I guess. For lack of a better word.
She did a kind of like
really quickly. Hold on just a second. Hopefully I wasn't breaking up when I responded to you, Roger, but do you think that was a good summary of my Ned's route?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's probably one of the smartest people, one of the best communicators, and what he was able to do is take his time to curate a space, and instead of like doing the volume of rooms like you and I would do, like marathons, every day, or the room would last a week or some shit like that, Ned would be like, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week at the most, and he would put more thought into it, and because of that, I just feel like the quality of his rooms, I don't think there's ever been anybody that's had higher quality rooms than he has. That's my opinion. Cammy's an interesting one. She's somebody that would follow me, unfollow me, unfollow me, and then she, once Healthy Debates started like blowing up, then she was definitely following. And then we'd do the whole thing where we'd bring her on the stage and we'd give her a mod badge, and she'd just park there, probably not even listening to the app. But she did these rooms that she would open, and she'd be like, okay guys, this room's only gonna be open for 15 minutes. Let's say something positive. And I'd sit in there, and like people would go around the room saying the most fucking mundane shit, and then she'd just be like, okay everybody, I'm gone, and then the room would be over. So my experience with her was that I thought she was a clout chaser. She did seem nice, and she actually has real world experience, which, that's something that most people on this app can't say. Like where she's done some cool shit. But crazy. That was at a time when they thought that, hey, as long as you have followers, somehow, some way, you're going to be able to monetize that. And like, I wouldn't say she was a grifter because I don't know what her grift was, but she was definitely in it for the.
Don't bring back that phrase, those clout chasing phrases. Oh, I hated that in season 2.
I think it's interesting,
I'm
like,
with you on there, 100%. All the cloud chasing was so bizarre, and to JB's point earlier about, all the grifters on here, I didn't realize like everyone and their mother in the kitchen sink were life coaches.
yeah, there are definitely those things. I will note, like, a couple of times that I've seen Eric Weinstein on the app, it was in Cammy's rooms.
Eric Weinstein was a regular in Healthy Debates.
He came to all the rooms. He would pop around all the time.
Yeah, he was one of the 50 people that they made it where when you downloaded the app, here's the 50 people that you might want to follow, and then you could click one button and you're following him. And as a result, he had like 8 million followers or some shit like that. That's why when he would come in the room, like we used to refer to it as the Weinstein bump. Back at peak popularity, if he jumped in the room, you would get about 100, maybe 200 people, and if he jumped on the stage, you'd get about 800 people that would pile in. So like there was a huge jump when he would pop in.
What was his deal again? Was he a big financial guy? What was
He used
his?
to work for Teal, but he's a mathematician, but I think most of the things that people would know him for is just being part of that quote unquote intellectual dark web, and going on the podcast circuit and talking about things that used to be people were uninterested in. It used to be people would listen to drive time or sports talk radio or whatever, and then when that explosion of like these public intellectuals came, he was just one of those. Him and his brother Brett.
He was also fun in the political spaces because he seemed to have a flair for it. He liked having the discussions, and he would stay for a while. I know he's a couple of times he parked up there for a couple hours. Like, Jesus, that's great.
Yeah, I saw him in a lot of the philosophy spaces. He definitely parked, but I don't see him anymore on this app.
The last person that had much of an audience that would come to the room regularly and participate on the stage was Lex Friedman. He's probably the last of the celebrities that, if you want to call him that.
He would sometimes randomly appear in Cammy's spaces.
Lex just didn't like the recorded part. He did not want to be recorded. What Lex appreciated about
What did he do?
Lex Friedman's a podcaster. He's an engineer. He's if you listen to him, some people love him, some people hate him. He speaks very slowly, but he likes to get people on his podcast and get into some pretty deep conversations. He's had Elon on his podcast probably more than I don't think you could probably add all of Elon's podcast appearances on other major podcasts together.
Rogan's had it more.
No, there's no way, absolutely no way.
As far as Brett Weinstein, he started a podcast called the Dark Horse Podcast that he does with his wife, who's also another professor.
That's Brett's podcast, right?
Yeah, Brett and his wife.
Yeah. Brett kind of lost his mind over some of these things. Like, he wanted to start the Unity Party. That fizzled out, and then he went into the claims that he made about COVID were pretty crazy. I think most people have kind of discredited Brett at this stage.
Well, he knew it wasn't a wet market early on, and his master's thesis was in bats. So some of it he wasn't totally right. I'm not defending him; he is crazy, but some of it in the beginning was interesting.
I think sure if it was being considered heterodox and having a point of view that he stood by that was later proven correct. But it's as if his ability to discern fact from fiction, or base a claim on evidence as he had before, was completely lost to that moment of glory.
He
And I
first
don't-
came on. Okay.
No, sorry, I was just gonna say, I don't know that he's come back from that. It's pretty sad.
He first came on my radar because he and his wife are both professors at Evergreen University in Washington State, which is one of the most liberal universities in the country, and declared that
Used to be. They sued and won a large court case from them. They used to.
That's when he first came on my radar, and there was a day that they wanted all the Caucasian people to stay home, and he thought that was because of when. And they ended up protesting, and they got both of them fired.
Yeah, that's also the university tied up physically the president. Those protesters tied up and kept the president in his office and made him communicate without hands moving because his hands were offensive. It was a pretty crazy period.
I wonder whatever happened to all those COVID, the ones that were eventually debunked, all like, the Dr. Copley types. I really wonder what happened to them because they used to have such a massive following. And even some of the people on the stage, I'll point to one, I don't know if she's still here, still driving, but, these people were like going from room to room and regurgitating all of that stuff. And I find it fascinating that they're no longer on the app. It's just, I wonder where they went off to it. And just kind of wish they'd come back because it was entertaining for.
Dr. Catherine is still on here.
Dr. Copeland been on, he's been on the app for the last month. I just saw him for the last month or two for sure.
It was funny. Dr. Catherine was pretty well liked on here by most people. And when she got over to Chatter, she was one of the people that would turn on her camera, and she would just sit there and like pose for the camera and like do duck lips and like drink wine, and then she'd get up and she'd like dance. It was very fucking bizarre. And like, even though I thought she was, I don't know, I wouldn't say I liked her, but I didn't dislike her. Most people were like, what the fuck is up with this chick? It was like, when she was on Chatter, that's when everybody was just like, dude, she's a weird.
Oh, she's just having fun,
The thing that I noticed, there's somebody on the stage, and the profile, all I see is 18 plus NSFW.
Not safe for work. Because his nipples are out if you look at the picture.
Sorry, I'm not able to see it, and
Oh,
yeah.
well, the person is clothed, but it's because, I don't know, whatever. It's just the breast area, but it's a funny picture, but I can't change it, and they won't help me change it. It's the craziest thing.
Dawn, are you on drugs?
No. I don't do drugs, Roger. And I don't drink. No. I'm telling, why? Because I said they won't help me change my picture. And I have an Android, I don't have access to change this. Once you have an NSFW,
Nope, your PTR had nothing to do with my question.
what, because, I have had mouth surgery a few times.
All right.
Maybe it's the way I speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to say this, because there's no way this is going to come off and sound polite, and I don't mean to attack you.
That's okay. Good.
Okay, it sounds sounds like you're either on drugs or you had a stroke. That's what it sounds like.
Oh my god, that's funny. I'm glad you told me. I'm glad you're honest. No, it's probably because of the mouth surgeries. That's what's going on.
No problem, and I have no beef with you. I think you're a sweet person, and I appreciate your presence on it.
Oh, thanks, Roger.
So did we determine who killed Clubhouse? Can we agree that it was the boring people?
Yeah, it would.
I say I never turned me. I say it was the trolls. Not single-handedly, but I think the trolls played a major role in killing Clubhouse.
The trolls.
I blame Hikima. If he spent less time creating children and more time focused on the app would be a better place.
100%.
So basically, I stay off the app and be better. Okay, Brad, gotcha.
I mean, you already have a football team. I mean, you might as well add a baseball team and a lacrosse team and a soccer team.
He made at least one superstar, you gotta admit.
Not superstar yet.
I think the decline emerged when, like, how many users there are became a higher priority into, like, is the content, like, good? And quality, had been gatekept because people had invites only, and their accounts had to be represented by somebody who invited them. And so there was like an accountability process that occurred in the beginning that doesn't exist now. That I think is where things started to unwind or decline. Even though, like, if you speak other languages, like, there are large rooms that occur, like Chinese rooms, for example. Yeah. But getting more app downloads from India probably could even just be like a farm that, like, are these actually active users? I don't know.
Well, they do have Indian rooms that run all day that literally have thousands of people in them concurrently at any time.
I think a lot of different perspectives have been brought up, and while I think each of them, in their own merit, may have some impact, I think that the people that killed Clubhouse were makers of Clubhouse.
You know what I think is, it's not productive. It's preventing people from meeting new people. So when I look at my hallway, right, I think this is the entire Clubhouse world, and it's not. It's not even 1%. So there are so many more rooms and people that we aren't aware of, that we don't have access to, and I think that that's what's holding growth back also.
You know, another thing that happened that killed the political rooms is that once the election got close, actually once the election ended, political rooms were pretty dead because people that were center left didn't want to be in the room with people that helped Trump get elected. And so that was a big thing. I think they were embarrassed. I think that their predictions, they didn't want to have to stand in front of, they just didn't want to hear Trumpers brag. And so they just disappeared. And they didn't disappear. They went into their own little echo chamber. And that's unfortunate because the good rooms all had one thing in common. And that was trying to bring people together from different ways of life and different ways of looking at the world and bring them into a conversation. Maybe this app has a chance after Trump's out of office, and maybe, you know, maybe when Trump is gone, you can get people together conversations are gonna continue to be circle jerky.
But I mean, here's the thing that we noticed with like my group, like the political compass. Like we couldn't, we first, it's a full-time fucking job, just like you and Kelly running Healthy Debates. It's a full-time fucking job. You know, it's not something that you can just put thought in. You have to put in designs, format. You have to do research. And my team and I, we would spend our time in our off. Like we'd have discussions, call each other on the phone, and work. You know, the night before, like, all right, everybody got their little packet. Does everybody have what they want to talk about? Do they have it down pat? You got the counter arguments. And so we would look at those and we'd say, all right, we're going to curtail it this way and make sure that we try to stay in this area of the topic and not veer too far off. And that, you know, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But you're right. Like, a lot of people would come in and they would bridge gaps. And we did for a while there in the midterms. Trying to get people registered. We were offering people like how to go about it. We would find their locations online, where they go. We do a lot of research and help, and people were like laughing at us, but you know, like we wanted people to go vote. That was our big thing. But I don't know if I were to open a political compass today, all the topics would just drift with what the PC is. Like if you look at political correctness, their topics are just anything anti-Trump, and it's just weird. Nothing is good. No trade deal is okay. No STEM sports piece is fine. Nothing this man does is at all good. And then you get like the Victoria trolls that just will continue to go on and on and on, and it's boring. Like what are you gonna fight?
I used to run like a Chinese video room, and with people that I fundamentally probably I wouldn't be in alignment with on a political basis, but we were able to host a room together, and we were able to bring in people like different world perspectives, and I think that's like what's unfortunately being lost. Like manners no longer exist. People think that it's acceptable to just insult individuals, and I've even found myself like doing that at times, and I like it's ridiculous. Like so, accountability requires that people actually buy in to something, and like yeah, sorry, I just feel like I've learned so much about different people in society on this app, and I'm not like feeling very positive about it anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I have to tell you, I really like how you articulate every word properly. It's beautiful.
You know what I'm noticing has decreased is the amount of people that want to come onto the stage and instead of make a point at all, they center their entire argument around the person that they're arguing with is a racist, and that they can just dismiss their entire point of view because of that. That has slowed down a lot, to be honest. Like, it's still there,
Do you
but
think
it's slow.
do you think, Roger, that it's truly slowed down? I mean, I think generally speaking, it has slowed down. Like we talk about, I don't know, the direction that we're going, whether it's media, social media, interpersonal interactions. I think that it has. On this app, though, I'm curious if you think that slowdown reflects what we're seeing in the rest of the real world, or if it's because maybe the biggest perpetrators of that kind of thing, they don't present themselves in mixed company on the app anymore, as you were just saying. Like we don't have there aren't diverse points of view on very many stages like there was. And so, because I've noticed the same thing, but I don't know that it's an improvement as much as it's just a reflection of the lack of engagement.
I think it's also a fatigue. I think the racist fatigue thing is really starting to set in across here. You'll hear like black fatigue or ratchet fatigue or liberal fatigue or MAGA fatigue, for the left. And you'll hear this time and time again, Kelly. And I just think people are just so sick and tired of like, okay, everybody's racist. Who gives a shit? Let's move on. And that's pretty much the context of what every discussion I've been in. And even on Twitter, where I'll jump by and listen, no one has time for it. And in fact, those people that were screaming the most are often the ones that are just booted down and forgotten about. So I don't even know if Wentworth Shackelford, if she came back, I don't know if people would listen to her. I honestly don't. I think she would probably be dismissed. I think they would just not give a shit because they're just like, we're so tired of that one talking point that you just constantly only comment on and you have nothing else to bring to the table.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. So I think Kelly, the idea that some of the people that would be most prone to do that, if you had to put a name on it, it would be people like Dr. Articulate, right? Like that would be like the poster child of that, right? They're not going to show up in a room like this anymore. They just won't. But also, the reason why I think they wouldn't want to is because there was a time where somebody came and said, "Oh, hey, Roger, that's very racist." I would actually stop and think like, "Oh, did I not say my point clearly enough? Like maybe I need to restate my case." And I felt like I had to defend myself. Now I've realized Clubhouse has taught me that if you're called a racist, it's probably a positive thing, because the person that's arguing with you is such bad faith and they're trying to dismiss your argument because they can't refute it. And so what they want to do is label you something bad, so then in an attempt to try to beat down your argument. And I think once upon a time on this app, it was effective because people in the audience and people on the stage would go, if this guy is racist, I don't want to align with him. But now, because they've cried wolf so fucking much, the average person doesn't give a fuck. They're just like, oh God, the race card again. Get over yourself. And so now, I don't even bother arguing with people if they tell me that that they think that I'm a racist. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The main reason I asked the question, though, and then Victoria, you can jump in if Roger doesn't want to reply to this, is because it still happens in spaces where that kind of interaction is welcomed. Obviously, it's not happening in like a contentious way, right? Unless someone random happens upon one of their stages and they get up and spit out. But and I don't even mean to make a claim against one side versus the other, because this is something I notice in left-leaning spaces. You have other behavior that you'll see in right-leaning spaces. And like we already said, we don't have much cross-pollination. Anyway, seeing that happen makes me I understand that it's still one of the weapons that people are using to fight in the quote-unquote big war, I guess, whether it's a culture war or anything else. So it's still happening. I think you're right. They're probably not going to get the feedback that they would get before, the satisfaction, etc. And the incentives are different on Clubhouse than in the real world. I think ultimately the thing that makes you recognize is that the echo chambers are the biggest thing that I think will keep people divided. I don't even mean just on Clubhouse. If you only watch Fox News or you only watch MSNBC, if everyone in your family you share a political point of view and you don't talk politics except for with those people, that's going to be the worst. That's going to be the thing that contributes to however long we sit in this purgatory of having very little in common that we recognize.
Yeah. How are you guys seeing families were having it out with each other. I feel like the purge has already taken place, where the people that don't want to argue or don't want to hear the other side, they just blocked each other, you know, and I don't think that's a good development. In fact, I think it's a pretty bad development. I think the way that we'll get past it is, I think when Trump is gone, I think there's going to be an effort, would be my guess, for people to lighten up. By the way, if the left wants to repair the damage control to their image, they need to get a sense of humor. They don't even need to change their perspectives. All they really need to do is just get a sense of humor and a sense of humility and quit acting like they know it all. And if somebody, the whole own the libs thing, if somebody makes a joke and makes a mockery of a leftist position, the most powerful thing they could do is, instead of trying to battle and refute it and call the person a racist, all they should do is just laugh and say, "Oh, good one," and that would completely nullify, the escalation of those tensions. But I think what's weird is, when I was a kid, the stuffy people that didn't allow criticism were all on the right, and now it's like it's shifted to, it's not that the right it doesn't do this anymore, but now the left is doing it way more extreme than the right ever had. And so that's why I think the middle have abandoned them, is that the sanctimonious assholes, there's more of them on the left now than there are on the right. And I think that's probably the big.
I don't know. I think a lot more people abandon the left, as evidenced by their online footprint, their podcast decreases, their reach, their favorability ratings in polling. In fact, they've lost in an election that we all knew was coming, but the left was very hyper focused that they were the way forward and everybody should agree with it. And then you see the world at large refuting back on the ideas of where the left was once there. The Angela Merkel faction of Europe is more or less ostracized out of politics now. They're getting pushed out, and they're being repelled against by the people that they govern over. So I don't know if you're going to get the left to agree to that. I just think a lot of people are just leaving the left, saying, "I just can't deal with it," and they just keep growing smaller and smaller. We'll just start over, or something post-Trump. We'll just have this bigger tent, then we'll just have the faction out.
I think the biggest factor that I'm at least observing is just we're not appropriately socializing people into society, and we have when I was growing up, at least I was a Girl Scout, and that Girl Scout promise, on my honor, I will try to serve God and my country to help people at all times and to live by the Girl Scout law. We're not there are a lot of people that don't even know what the Girl Scout promise is, or just haven't fundamentally been included. And I don't want to fault them for that, but I do want to fault the states that are taking resources away from educating people or providing these types of platforms for people to be socialized. And I think the vast majority of Americans would actually agree, on certain social, form a social contract and agree on many policies and terms. We politicized everything. It's baffling.
And it is. I agree with you. I don't and I'm not. This isn't a gotcha. I'm just trying to point out something that I think makes this more difficult. When you say that everything has been politicized, yes, but it's difficult
see change. They want to see that changed. I don't know that people always have the correct solution, and that takes time. But when there's trouble, it's meant to be politicized. Now I get it. You don't want that to mean that people cannot be friendly with one another. But let's just take the example of you saying, I blame the people, the states that have taken resources. I can appreciate that, and I even think I can defend it, but I could also defend someone who would argue with that and say that, socializing a child should not be the state's responsibility, and I mean the government, whether we're talking about a state or federal government. And I think that it would be fair for people to have that conversation, or even to feel that way. Maybe they would be incorrect. Maybe they would be correct. I don't know. That's where the conversation goes. But how far are you from thinking that even though you blame the states that take resources and don't socialize children, how far away are you from being able to say, like, that's my point of view, but I think it's fair for someone to not think that should be the job of the government?
It's interesting you say that, because everyone's got an idea of a problem they want to solve, and the first thing that they talk about is the government's role in it, rather than even asking the question of, like, what is the government's role in this? So it's just, I don't know, it's gotten bizarre to me. We should focus our attention locally. That's my opinion.
So what I was referring to is, unfortunately, there are localities, probably not where you live, Mojo, but there are localities in the United States that don't have substantial resources and rely, unfortunately, on U.S. federally allocated taxpayer dollars. And those are the communities that are feeling like they've been dismissed. They're the flyover territory, etc. And we're seeing, like, the consequences arise. And
But that's been a 50-year, 100-year freaking fight. Like, the flyover country, the Rust Belt, have been complaining for fucking a century. I mean, since the 70s. Like, that's not a new argument. That was something that was actually held by, like, I would say, one side of the political aisle much more vociferously. Not that they did as much as they promised, nowhere near what they promised, but they used to be that champion for them. And now to hear it come from another political faction, it comes across as hollow, because, remember, they just cling too tightly to their Bibles and guns.
I think you've actually just, like, illustrated my point, which is that I think there is, like, a centrist argument where many people would probably just say, yes, we want children to be educated, we want them to be obedient, we want them to behave appropriately and socialize them into the world. I don't think anything that I'm saying should be controversial, but we're politicizing it because it's me who's saying it rather than you.
That's actually untrue. I don't know, unless you're speaking specifically, Brad, but I don't know why you would assume that someone politicized it because you, Dismal, made this statement. I was very clear and tried to even speak slowly and ask the question in a way that if you didn't understand it, it would be easy enough for you to say so and have me restate it. But I only asked you if you were able to set aside your belief of what is true, not set it aside so that you don't believe it anymore, but set it to the side long enough to appreciate that there might be an honestly held opposing point of view. Maybe that point of view is wrong, but
U.S. is a moral authority, and I've reviewed the evidence right now.
Victoria, honestly, please don't do this. Like, I feel like this has been somewhat productive. I mean, if you want to crash out, I'm sure everyone will enjoy it. So you can do this rant if you want. I've heard it 1,000 times, so don't do it for my benefit. If you want to answer the question directly, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in like the performance that you're about to do. But again, I'm not going to stop you. Like I do often in an exchange with you, and I hate that this is the fact because it didn't used to be. And as much as I disagree with so many positions that you hold, I have respect for why it is that you hold them, and I have a lot of respect for often how you've gotten to them, what informs them, all of that. The problem is that I don't think that this is intentional at all. I'm not sure what's causing it. Like I said, it's a more recent development. You either willfully like don't or you're either willfully like not acknowledging the communication coming from other people, or you're intentionally ignoring it, or you don't know that I don't really know what's causing it, but you're not actually engaging with anything other than your own point of view. And when you come up against somebody who just asks you if you're willing to do that, you just start restating more of your points of view. This is a thing that you've done on this stage today. You've done it a lot recently. I actually think that this is a huge problem. I don't know how to. I think it's a big problem on both sides, honestly. And I don't know how to get through to people that do this, where the only thing that they are holding on to in this like frantic way is what they believe to be true, and they're not going to have a discussion outside of re-announcing those things.
It's not something that you
Well, that was
you have to put
that was
in
fun while it lasted.
design format, you have to do research, and my team and I, we would
The original title of the room was talking about the ruined clubhouse, and there was a conversation yesterday that Lou had on here, Lou Fax, about it was a clubhouse reunion, and a lot of people joined that room. A lot of people join these rooms, frequently. But some people in return